What's up, guys? It is episode 2 of Healthyish with Nutrish-mish. This week's topic is seemingly simple, but oh so complicated, and it is, what is the right way to eat? And we've been eating our whole lives for the most part. You'd think it would be something we have down and we know pretty well, but that's not really the case. So we are going to dive into 3 subtopics of this today. We're going to say, is it better to eat fat-free or regular? Is it better to do diet or regular? Or is it better to order the pizza or order the salad? Interesting. But before we dive into that, my life's mission is to change the conversation and change the culture around diet, nutrition, and weight loss. The way that we do it is so ineffective now. 95% of people who go on any given diet program will gain it back within a year, and that's not good enough. So I tried to provide the most amount of value that I possibly can to my Nutrish-mish clients, but I've been neglecting everyone who is not a Nutrish-mish client, and there are unfortunately way too many of you. So what I'm going to do is we have designed this brand new Facebook group. I don't even really have a banner on it yet. It's called Diet Free Weight Loss with Nutrish-mish. Join this group. It's for everyone. It's a forum where you will have my ears on your questions. I will be able to help you personally, or my team will. You'll be able to ask your questions. You'll be able to get open and honest answers as far as nutrition goes. You'll be able to share your great ideas, share recipes. It's going to be a really amazing group for people who are also sick of being on the dieting hamster wheel and just want to look good and feel good forever without having to sacrifice very much. I don't think we're asking for a lot. So again, that group is for everyone. It is free. It's called Diet Free Weight Loss with Nutrish-mish. Join the group, check it out, and let's get started. Okay, so the first one is it healthier? Is it better to eat fat-free or to have full-fat versions of products? And everything that I'm telling you, just to kind of preface it, that's the beauty of nutrition. You can argue it anyway. I'm sure there's going to be 50 people who listen to this and say, no, that's not true. Yeah, it is. I'm just kidding. Listen, I always joke around nutrition, religion, and politics is all the same in a sense where everyone feels like their way is the be-all and end-all, but in reality, there's 1,000 ways to do the right thing, to do something that works. And unfortunately, with nutrition, the studies that get conducted, sometimes they're biased. It's very easy in a study to show the same side, the same side of the coin. You can say eggs are great, and then they're not so great. You can show pretty much anything in a study by manipulating certain factors. So at the end of the day, just take in all this information. If it makes sense to you, great. If it doesn't, you're wrong. No, I'm just kidding. If it doesn't make sense, that's okay too. But, take it with a grain of salt. No pun intended. All right, so fat-free versus regular. So here's the way to figure this out. Now, the whole fat-free craze was sparked by a huge scandal that actually just came to light 2 or 3 years ago, even though it happened in the 1950s. So a little history lesson for you. In the 1950s, there was a lot of evidence coming out that sugar, not fat, caused heart disease and cardiovascular problems and all of these issues. So the sugar industry paid these 3 Harvard scientists the equivalent of like $50,000 or whatever to conduct these fake studies that said, no, it's not actually sugar, it's fat that causes these things. So what did we do? We panicked and we removed the fat from everything. And the sugar industry was like, score, because now heat's off of us. No one knows that, we're actually causing these health issues. But also, luckily enough, when you take the fat out of food, it kind of tastes terrible. So to make it taste better, what did they add? Sugar, that's correct. So what's kind of interesting is the whole fat-free craze was sparked by this scam. So listen, don't get me wrong. Everything with nutrition works on a bell curve, right? It's a Goldilocks science. When you have too much of something or too little of something, you start to lose benefits. Provided you have the right amount in your life, fat is actually maybe not so bad for you, or not as bad as we once thought it was. Now, granted, there's good types of fat and not so great types of fat, right? So the not so great types would be more saturated, more animal-based, obviously trans fats. But even though, I'm not saying go out of your way for them necessarily, they're a lot more benign than we once thought that they were. Sugar is definitely more detrimental to health to most people than saturated fat. Not everybody, but most people. So how do we figure out if the full fat version or the low fat version is a better choice? So let's take 2 examples. Let's take fat-free mayo and let's take full fat mayo, right? So the first thing you want to do, I don't know why I chose mayo. I hate mayo, but whatever. That's the first thing that came to my mind. I think I just used that example with a client this morning. So if you have the first thing you want to look at is you want to say, okay, are they taking out good fat or are they taking out bad fat? Because good fat, and that will be found in more like plant-based fats, so like your nuts, your seeds, your avocado, olive oil, things like that. Those motherfuckers keep you healthy. You want those in your diet. That's what, if you ever hear about this man who lived to be 105 years old, it's always somewhere in the Mediterranean where they eat a lot of that stuff. So healthy fats are actually really good for you, believe it or not. So you do want to include those in your diet. So if they're taking out healthy fat, that might not be a better choice. I would actually say it probably is not a better choice. So if we're talking about mayo, though, mayo is, the fat in there is coming from animal sources. It's saturated. So they are taking out the bad fats. We could say, okay, they're taking out the bad fat. We can move on to the next question. The next question is, well, what else did they change? So did they take out the fat and did they leave everything else alone? Or did they take out the fat and they added in sugar, or they added in chemicals, or things like that? If they added in sugar, if they added in chemicals, if they added something, most likely you're better off with the full fat option, which is kind of crazy, but it's true. The chemicals and things that they put in foods, which we're going to get into that in a little bit, those can actually cause weight gain. They're really unhealthy. Most of them are not legal in other countries, so it's pretty wild. We're going to get into that in a second, so hang tight on that. So the way to kind of determine if fat-free is better is say, okay, number one, did they take out good fat or bad fat? If they took out good fat, we would probably say you're better off with the full fat version right off the bat. If they took out the bad fat, then we can move on to question 2, which is what else did they do to the product? Did they leave it alone or did they alter it? Did they add in chemicals? Did they add in sugar? Did they add in something else? So if they did not, you're probably better off with the lower fat version of the product. If they did, you're probably better off, believe it or not, with the fuller fat version. So a good example of a food where you might be better off with the full fat is that PB2 powder stuff. They're taking out, in that case scenario, the powdered peanut butter, they're taking out the good fat, right? So in my opinion, full fat peanut butter would be healthier. That being said, that stuff blends way better into shakes than peanut butter, so I might use it for that reason, but I know that it may not be necessarily a healthier choice. So it's not all about how many calories, it's not all about how much fat, it's really, a lot of it has to do with the quality of the product. And in this country, we don't pay enough attention to quality, but it is very impactful, and I could prove it too, because last time you went to Europe, right? I don't know if you've gone, but if you have, I know I've had a lot of clients go to Europe, and very rarely do they ever gain weight there, which is suspicious, because you eat everything over there because the food is delicious. So the next thing that my clients will say to me is, well, we walked around a lot. And I would bet my money that last time you went to Disney, you probably walked around a lot too, and you probably didn't lose weight, right? So the difference is their quality of food is so much better. Do you ever wonder why they can eat in France and Italy bread and pasta and all this crazy stuff? It's because their quality of food is much better. Their bodies know what to do with it. It's not pumped full of chemicals. They don't have usually low-fat versions of things there. And if they do, usually they're done correctly. So should you eat low-fat or high-fat, or regular fat, I should say? It depends on the product. If they're taking out the bad fat, get rid of it. If they're taking out the good fat, you might want to keep it and then go from there. Okay, so that's that debate. Now, the next one, diet or regular? In anything, diet or regular, soda, whatever. Not that I want you drinking soda. I definitely do not. Now, this is one that I struggle with, right? Because let's do diet soda. Let's say it's soda, right? Let's say you're dying for a soda. You really, really want one. I understand. We're all human. What is the better choice, diet soda or regular soda? So I don't struggle with this anymore, but for a while I really did. My answer is, as terrible and awful as sugar is, you are actually better off, probably, if you're healthy. This is all information for healthy people. If you have an ailment, speak to your doctor, obviously. But in general, as terrible as sugar is, to be honest, especially if you're doing it only once in a while, you're better off with the regular, in my opinion, over a diet. And that's an opinion. There's evidence to support both things. But the aspartame in there are so many studies saying all these crazy, terrible things it does for you. And it's a chemical. When your body was designed, it wasn't meant to process those chemicals. When aspartame, which is equal, which is what's in diet soda, when that gets heated up to your body's temperature, or if it's been sitting in a hot warehouse, it turns into formaldehyde. Yes, formaldehyde. That is what they use to preserve dead bodies with. It's a carcinogen. It can kill you. Like, why? Why are we putting these things in our bodies? It's insane. And if you go, they'll be like, oh, it's enough to be safe. Like, no, it's not. There's something called GRAS. It stands for generally recognized as safe. So aspartame and those things are considered GRAS, generally recognized as safe. So they're like, it's maybe okay. Like, that's not even a convincing term for me. So if I get nothing else across, you guys, the chemicals in those foods are terrible. They cause a whole host of health issues. If you do a little bit of research, you'll find a lot of stuff there. That being said, sugar is not great and you shouldn't consume a ton of sugar. But if you're going to have a soda once in a while, my vote is to, believe it or not, have a regular, not a diet. Those chemicals are not meant to be consumed in your body, in my opinion at least. Okay, last one here, pizza or salad. So, have you ever gone out to eat and the salads are like, if you take the salad away, you're left with like a giant taco or something crazy like that. Salads can be definitely high in calories, could even be higher in calories than a pizza, but that's not really where I was going with this. If you're eating healthy 100% of the time, or your goal is to eat healthy 100% of the time, you're probably going to go a little crazy. When people have this down, where they have this like nice healthy lifestyle going, it's because they've kind of struck this balance of fun and fuel, right? And that's why I tell my clients food can be fun and fuel. It's both, but you have to kind of like determine how much of each you can get away with. Now, if you're restrictive, right? Let's say it's Friday night, you just carpooled all the kids, their sports, whatever you do on Friday night these days. And you're like, I don't feel like cooking. Let's just order in a pizza. And then in your mind, it's like, pizza? Well, pizza's not healthy. Maybe you should get a salad. I don't want the salad. I want the pizza. But I really shouldn't have the pizza, but I should probably just get the salad. But if I have the salad, I'm going to be really annoyed. I'm really going to want the pizza. Maybe I'll just have one slice. I'm just going to have my kid's crust. I'm just going to have the crust of my kid's pizza. So then you have the crust of your kid's pizza, which you're better than leftovers. You're better than that, but you have it, right? And then you're like, just go out for one slice. And then you had 12 slices of pizza, right? And you start again tomorrow. There's not even 12 slices in a pie, but somehow you managed that. So where I'm going with this is, if it is an appropriate time to indulge, and we're going to get into indulgences in a lot of detail another week, like a lot, that's your time when it's okay to take your foot off the gas. You can't be strict 100% of the time. So my advice is, if you're going out to eat, or it's pizza night or whatever, and your week's been generally pretty healthy, right? And you really want to have the pizza, have the freaking pizza. Because you're way better off doing that than not having it, depriving yourself of it, and now that pizza is like on this pedestal that you like can't even touch, and then you end up binging and doing more damage than if you just had the damn piece of pizza in the first place. So part of having a good relationship with food is not feeling restricted. When you feel restricted, you go crazy in the other direction. That's where binges are born. So part of this is practicing, that phrase, everything in moderation, is kind of true, right? So my philosophy is, if you go out to eat, or it's pizza night or something, and nothing's jumping out at you at the menu, obviously order the healthier thing. But if you're like dying for something, you're dying for the pizza, you're dying for chicken parm, whatever, have it, whatever. But then just get like right back to your normal scheduled eating. And you'll find it'll be much easier to do that, because when you give yourself permission, some crazy things happen where you don't feel deprived. When you don't feel deprived, this whole situation is much easier for you. So the right way to eat. So we've said, if they're taking out bad fat and they did not add in any chemicals, fat-free is the way to go. If they're taking out good fat, or they added in chemicals, or they added in sugar, you're probably better off with the full-fat product. If we're doing the diet regular debate, and this is my opinion, but it's right, you're better off, in my opinion, at least with regular soda versus diet. For healthy people, obviously, if you're a diabetic, talk to your doctor. And then if we're talking about pizza or a salad, if you're dying for a slice of pizza, have it. It'll keep you sane in the long run. It'll allow you to successfully kind of complete something like this, where you're trying to really change your habits. If you're depriving yourself all the time, that's not real. That's smoke and mirrors, and you end up binging. Sound good? Okay, so I'm going to do some more of these later on. Next week, we're going to get into food quality and if it's important. Should you be buying organic? Should you be, going the extra mile with that stuff? Should you be buying hormone-free? Are some of the things that are in our food system really that bad? How does that affect your health? How does that affect your weight? We're getting into all of that stuff next week, and that is one of my favorite topics, so I'm really excited for that. All right, so check us out next week, and I hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you have not yet subscribed, please subscribe, and I'll check you out then. Bye.